Okay, so regarding the power of president, we already discussed legislature power as well as executive power. Now we will discuss other powers of President of India. Okay, financial power. So as I mentioned earlier, president is having lot of power. Okay, the power has been segregated into the legislature, executive, judiciary, finance power, military power, diplomatic power, veto power. Okay, veto power, it is having a pardoning power also. President is having. Okay, now we will discuss finance power. So what is that? Article 110 that deals with money bill. We mentioned earlier also that money bill shall be introduced only after the prior permission of President of India. So money bill cannot be introduced without the prior permission of President. Okay. Then next we have Article 112. Article 112. What is that? Annual financial statement. That annual financial statement is nothing but budget. You heard about the budget now in the month of February. Central government as well as the state government will introduce the budget. So in constitution there is no word called budget. In constitution for budget there is a one word that is called annual financial statement. Okay, so who will write down the annual financial statement before the parliament? It is a President of India. Okay, President of India will write down the budget before the parliament, and budget will be discussed, and minister will ask for the grants, money in short, right? Minister will ask for the grants. So no grants can be made except on the recommendation of President. Okay, so after budget will be discussed, minister will ask for the grants. Grants means they required this much of money. For take an example, sports minister is there, right? Sports minister is demanding 40,000 crore rupees. In that 40,000 crore, sports minister is demanding first 5,000 crore for the development renovation of the existing cricket stadium or football stadium. So they need money, right? How they can ask the money? Through the grant only. Through the grant. They can't ask, give me a check. Okay, in parliament we will discuss those procedure. So through grant only the minister can ask for the money. So that grant can be given only after the recommendation of President of India. Okay, so generally at central level we have a 3 funds popularly which is mentioned in the constitution. Okay, we have a consolidated fund of India. Consolidated fund of India we will discuss. Then we have a contingency fund of India and public accounts of India. Okay, so all the taxes which are received by the central government, okay, it will be credited to the consolidated fund of India. Okay, then from every year from consolidated fund of India, 500 crore rupees will be transferred to the contingency fund of India. Every year at the time of budget only, rupees 500 crore will be transferred from consolidated fund of India to contingency fund of India. Okay, now we have one fund that is called contingency fund of India. What is the purpose of fund? To meet the unforeseen expenditure. To meet unforeseen expenditure. Unforeseen expenditure means the expenditure we never expect. For take an example, Corona. No one expect, right? Natural disaster, if any occur, then floods are there. For example, now Punjab floods is there, right? So that is an unforeseen expenditure. To meet those unforeseen expenditure, one fund is created. What is the name of that fund? Contingency Fund of India. What is the source of the Contingency Fund of India? From Consolidated Fund of India. Every year 500 crore rupees will be transferred from Consolidated Fund of India to Contingency Fund of India. Okay, so there is a one fund that is called Contingency Fund of India. Who will keep that fund? Finance Secretary. Who will keep that fund? Finance Secretary. But who will make advances from that fund? Advances means from that fund how much money should be issued. Who is having a power to issue the money from that fund? It is a President of India. Take an example, you have a bank account. Who is holding your bank account? Bank. But who is a power to issue the check from your bank account? You. So in the same way, this contingency fund of India is there, right? That will be held by whom? Finance Secretary. But who will make advances from that fund? It is the President of India. Now you understood? Okay. Next, another financial power of President of India is Finance Commission. Every 5 years. It is not compulsory every 5 years also. It can be a 5 year or before 5 years also. President will establish a Finance Commission. Chairman and member of the Finance Commission will be appointed by whom? President only. We discuss executive power of President. Right. So every 5 years or before 5 years also. Very, very important. Every 5 years or before 5 years, President will establish the Finance Commission. President will establish the Finance Commission. Now, why President will establish the Finance Commission? Finance Commission will give recommendation. Recommendation of what? Central government will receive the remuneration, taxes and other, right? So, how that remuneration should be distributed between central government and rest of the Indian states along with UT. You are understanding? Right. So, whatever the revenue received by the central government, how that revenue should be distributed between the central government and states and union territories which are there in India. Okay. So, for that purpose, who will give recommendation for the distribution of fund? That recommendation will be given by Finance Commission. Who will establish that Finance Commission? President of India. Now you understood, right? The functionality of Finance Commission. So generally the Finance Commission will be established by President. Now judicial power. Okay. So President is also having a judicial power. In the judiciary we will discuss in depth. Generally, it is the President who will appoint the Chief Justice of India. It is the President who will appoint Chief Justice of India. Okay. And it is the President who will appoint the puisne judges in Supreme Court. Puisne judges means judges other than the Chief Justice of India. Right. So, Chief Justice of India will be appointed by the President. And puisne judges also will be appointed by President in Supreme Court, central level. Now state level. State level we have a High Court, right? So Chief Justice of High Court will be appointed by whom? President, Chief Justice of High Court. Then judges other than the Chief Justice of High Court will be appointed by whom? President. Okay, High Court. Now in High Court also there is a transfer of judges now from one state to another state. Okay, transfer of judge of High Court will also done by whom? President. In Supreme Court there is no transfer. Now we have only one Supreme Court. In Supreme Court we have a one Chief Justice and another puisne judges that will be appointed by the President. In High Court we have a one Chief Justice of High Court. Other judges are also there that will be appointed by President. Plus transfer of judges are also there. That will also done by whom? President of India. Okay. Now other very important thing which is in current affair. Okay, that is reference. Under Article 143, subclause 1 and subclause 3. Okay, subclause 1 and subclause 3. So recently, what happened in the month of April? Okay, Supreme Court has issued an order, judgment regarding the limitation, time limit on the giving assent to the state bill for governor also and for the president also. Time limit should be there. Why? Because Tamil Nadu government filed a case. Okay, so then our president is there, Draupadi Murmu. So she questioned to the Supreme Court. 14 questions are there to the Supreme Court. So that is a reference question we can say. So what is that actually? Under Article 143, under Article 143, President has a power. President has a power to ask the question to the Supreme Court. To ask the question to the Supreme Court. Okay. Now what type of question? Again we have what you call subsection. And under Article 143. Under Article 143. Okay. Supreme Court can take the advice or ask the, President can take the advice or President can ask the, President can take the advice from the Supreme Court related to the law and order. Related to law and order. Okay, president can take an advice. In short, ask the question how to do this thing and all those things in our layman language. Asking question only, na, that how to do these things. Then court will give advice, right? So under Article 143 subclause 1, president can ask the advice to the Supreme Court on the matter of law, maintenance of law and order. Then what Supreme Court can do? Okay, regarding Article 143 subclause 1, Supreme Court can advise to the president, and Supreme Court deny to give advice. Supreme Court can give advice to the president regarding the maintenance of law and order, or Supreme Court can deny to give the advice. Understood till here? Take an example in the year 1993, when president asked to the Supreme Court to give advice on the Babri Masjid case. Might be you remember, right? At that time Supreme Court denied to give advice. At that time Supreme Court has not given advice. Supreme Court denied that we won't give advice. Understood? So that is Article 143 subclause 1. What it is? Subclause 1. In subclause 1, president will take the advice of the Supreme Court on ordinary law and maintenance of law and order. Supreme Court may give or may not give. Okay, but if the Supreme Court gives the advice, is that advice binding on president? No. It is just an advisory in nature. So the advice which is given by the Supreme Court under Article 143 subclause 1, it is not binding on president. Understood? 143 article subclause 1. Now Article 143 subclause 2. Subclause 2. President can take advice from the Supreme Court on the dispute or issue arises. On dispute or issue arises. Okay, due to pre-constitutional treaty. Pre-constitutional treaty means when our constitution was came into force, 26th January 1950. I hope everyone remember. But before that, if Indian government has made any treaty or Indian government has made any convention or sanad, due to that any issue arisen, okay, arise, any discrepancies arise or any issue arise. On that issue, president can take the advice from the Supreme Court. Okay, and now in this subclause 2 of Article 143, okay, it is mandatory for the Supreme Court to give advice to president. It is mandatory for the Supreme Court to give advice to whom? President. Mandatory. Okay, first case, Supreme Court may give or may not give. But in second case, it is mandatory for the president to give advice. Supreme Court to give advice. Now, is it mandatory for the president to take that advice? Not at all. You are understanding? In second case, it is mandatory for the Supreme Court to give advice to the president, but it is not mandatory for the president to take that advice or follow that advice. Got it? So that is about Article 143, subclause 1 and subclause 2. Very simple. Subclause 1 says that what? Court can give advice or court may not give advice on the law and order. And the advice which is given, it is not binding on president. Subclause 1. Subclause 2 says that court has to give advice, but the advice given by the Supreme Court is not binding on president. In both the cases, president is not, the advice which is given by the Supreme Court is not binding on president. But regarding the Supreme Court side, first case Supreme Court is not binding to give advice, but in second case Supreme Court is binding to give advice. Understood? So this is about Article 143, which says that okay, president can seek advice from the Supreme Court on any question of law, okay, and however the advice which is given by the Supreme Court, it is not at all binding on the President of India. So this is about the judicial power of President of India. Understood? Okay.